A police officer arrested in George Floyd's death is now facing several charges this morning, including third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. Many people believe the charges against Chauvin don't go far enough. It was another round of dangerous protests in downtown Columbus, all in response to police brutality. In the short north, their demonstrations damaged several banks as police had to use tear gas to get control of the situation. And this morning, Columbus is cleaning up after a long night. Escalating protests damaging property across the city. NBC4's Catherine Ross is now live in the short north with a look at the aftermath. Catherine.
Yeah, good morning, Hattie. It's a lot quieter this morning than it was just a few hours ago even, but now we're getting a look at some of the aftermath from all of those protests, from the rioting out here in the short north just off of High Street. And Goodale, we're seeing broken flower pots outside businesses, shadowed windows. Here, this is Black Point Seafood and Steakhouse on High Street here. This is what we've been seeing a lot through the entire short north right now. There's a street sweeper going past, cleaning up a lot of that debris. They've also planning to close off parts of High Street here. This is at High Street and Goodale. Beyond that, they say all of that construction in front of the convention center, all those traffic barrels have been overturned. So it's going to be a little while before they're able to clear the way and allow vehicles to actually physically drive down High Street. Now, the city actually had to declare a state of emergency on Friday night. Police calling for everyone to legally clear out of the area and using their gas canisters for crowd control. Now, in the rising tensions between police and protesters, at least 5 people were arrested. 2 officers were injured when someone hurled bricks or rocks at them. Our crews reported seeing vandalized bars, restaurants, and banks well into the early hours of the morning. Now, this, of course, was all triggered by the death of George Floyd in police custody in Minneapolis. But advocates say it's a culmination of years of racial injustice. Governor DeWine addressing the state Friday, calling for people to speak up against things they believe to be wrong.
We want Ohioans, as I've said many times, to exercise their First Amendment rights, no matter what they're protesting. Ohioans should speak out against wrongdoing. Ohioans should speak out for change. They should speak out for unity, for an end to injustice.
And we are already getting word that there will be more protests happening today. Of course, we'll be covering those. And of course, police and businesses throughout Columbus are bracing themselves for another night of turmoil. Live and local for you in Columbus this morning, Catherine Ross, NBC4.
All right, Catherine, thank you. And officers, they had to protect the city as some began damaging property here in Columbus. The local FOP president says that he wishes it never happened. Keith Farrell says that what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis was very disturbing to see and unacceptable. But he doesn't think rioting and damaging property is the way to get that point across. He says these kinds of violent protests take officers off the streets and away from other emergency runs, which places other people in Columbus in danger.
I absolutely believe there were a decent amount of people there last night that wanted to just peacefully protest. They were trying to help officers. You could see them trying to call, don't throw that, don't do, we could see all that. So I recognize, and I feel bad for those people because they wanted their voice to be heard in a constructive way, and they could have still been doing it now, and we would have been fine with that. And those people got shut down because of the actions of a few.
And he believes that we all need to work together to find a solution on how to improve police-community relations, and says that it is time to start thinking outside of the box. New this morning, a man is in serious condition after being shot near the Arena District. It happened just after 2 this morning near East Spring Street and North 3rd. Right now, it's unclear if this was related to last night's demonstrations. Several historic buildings in downtown were damaged Thursday night. The Ohio Theater estimates it will need to spend upwards of $15,000 to make repairs. Most of the glass doors were shattered, and the ticket booth was also damaged. And several city and community leaders are calling for anyone who protests this weekend to do so peacefully. Columbus City Council President Shannon Hardin says that he understands many in our community are upset, and he says that we need to stand as one to end racism. While he supports demonstrations, he tells us they must be done without violence.
We need people to have the ability to protest safely. That's a responsibility that's both on our shoulders, the shoulders of the police, and anyone who shows up to protest.
And next week, Columbus City Council will begin discussions on passing legislation to declare racism a public health crisis. Earlier this month, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners voted to do just that. To stay updated